Well, good morning and welcome back. We are streaming live to the 28,000 people that are online watching this at 8:30 in the morning, and the other 28,000 will join in the course of the day. So to those of you in the audience, thank you for waking up so early and for getting on it and being so interested in Wales Tech Week. I think my name is Aled Miles. It may appear on the screen as if by magic. I have the great privilege of being the Welsh Government envoy to the United States and chairing the conference. So we're kicking off today. By the way, it was a fantastic day yesterday, having so many people from Wales and international delegates discussing artificial intelligence, large language models, machine learning, right the way through to our Minister for the Economy, the CEO of UK Innovate, and a lot of conversation about cybersecurity, which of course Wales has some dominance in, which we're about to find out more this morning. So we're going to start today with a live breakfast hookup, would you believe it, to Tokyo, Japan. At the end of yesterday's conference, we did the same thing to the United States. And I know, because I can see them on the screen here, we've got some fabulous people in Tokyo standing by. But it's my job this morning, firstly, to introduce you to John, on my left here, the cybersecurity Welsh guru. So I could have said other things, John, so we did pretty well. I've met John before, and truly, he has led the cyber industry in Wales for us with some aplomb. The real purpose of this session, though, is to highlight the possibilities of international cooperation and doing business with Japan. As some of you know, in January of this year, there was a $19 billion UK-Japanese trade agreement signed. It was a defense agreement specifically, called the Hiroshima, or if you're from the United States, Hiroshima Accords. It's a real and broad-reaching opportunity between the two countries. Now, Cyber Wales are a partner of this conference, which we're grateful for. And in September, members of the Cyber Wales cluster went to Japan to launch Cyber Hiroshima, a new cybersecurity cluster as a branch, right, of Cyber Wales. And I think the UK ambassador was there, and the governor of the Hiroshima Prefectural Government at events both in Tokyo and Hiroshima. So John is an MBE. He is the co-founder and the board director of Cyber Wales, and much more interesting than me. John.
Aled, thank you so much. No pressure, but I appreciate
Plenty of pressure.
Appreciate the intro. Thank you, mate. So, morning, everybody. Thanks very much for coming in. We're the first talk of the morning, and there's a really good reason for that, and that's because it's the end of the day for our two special guests from Tokyo. So if we'd have run this at a more sensible time for us, it would have been the middle of the night for them, which would have been very rude. So we'll just do a quick wave welcome to Susan and Sam. Thanks very much for joining us from Tokyo. It sounds a little bit strange, doesn't it? Cyber Wales, informal networking group for people to get together and discuss threat intelligence and best practice in cyber. Actually, when we formed this in 2014, we set up a cluster, as they were called then, in the same model as a cluster that formed in Malvern. And equally, when you sit down and say, there's a whole load of cyber people in Malvern, on the Malvern Hills, that also has a, really? Because, I thought Malvern, frankly, was famous for its bottled water and a really nice view of Wales. But obviously, Malvern is very close to our GCHQ in Cheltenham. Nobody lives in Cheltenham. It costs about £1 million a bedroom. So, of course, everybody lives west of there. You can't live east. It's the Cotswolds. There's no houses available. So, effectively, there are a lot of people that live in Wales, on the Welsh borders, and work in Cheltenham. And it's not just Cheltenham, actually. If you go north of Cheltenham, you bump into Hereford. And there's the worst kept military secret in existence there. We have our SAS regiment that sit in a base in Hereford. Dreadful secret. I think there's a sign on the M5 that says SAS headquarters this way. And if you travel south from there, you've got the Defence Academy, where everybody from the Tri-Forces learns their cyber trade. You carry on further south, we've got the Government Security Operations Centre. where they defend us valiantly against nation-state threats. And if you carry on down and around, you arrive at the headquarters of the Royal Corps of Signals, who own all of the cyber for the British Army. So we do have quite a lot of nation-state resource right on our border. And the reason it's there, by the way, is in Cheltenham, random, is because it was moved out there during the war to avoid the bombing. And it just never went back. So this whole ecosystem has been in existence, really, since that courtesy of the bombing of London in 1940-41. And it's been really percolating since then. So, we didn't create this. Cyber Wales hasn't created anything wonderful. We didn't turn up and say, let's have a cluster and form it out of nothing. We've just inherited this amazing ecosystem that has accumulated and formed around GCHQ. And the UK government, fully aware of this, has some huge data crunching entities that they want to have close to their nation-state cyber capability. Which is why, again, randomly, we end up with huge data government departments like the DVLA, the Driver Vehicle License Agency. That's the second largest data cruncher in the UK government. And it's on top of a hill in Llansamlet in Swansea. We also have a company's house here. We have the passport offices here, the intellectual property offices here, and we have the Office of National Statistics, which is the biggest data crunching entity of UK government, halfway between Cardiff and Newport. And it makes sense when you understand that mixture of military cyber capability that's been here for 80 years and those UK government entities that have been here for 40 or 50 years. And you can imagine those draw in huge amounts of resource, very skilled and talented people. They come and live in Wales. They realize the cost of living is amazing. They realize the environment is amazing, and they stay. Cyber primes, prime contractors, if you were running a $1 billion company and you wanted to know where to drop it in the UK, where you'd have access to all of this nation-state capability, well, Airbus realized the secret of that and dropped their headquarters. Their global SOC is in Newport. Thales have joined. They've set up one of their 5 global digital exploitation centers in the Ebbw Vale Valley. General Dynamics run their global SOC out of the Blackwood Valley, and we've got others, Kinetic, Raytheon, Ultra Electronics, Lockheed, and further out west, actually, where the electronic warfare regiments of the British Army sit, we've got another iteration of Kinetic. So we've got more than our fair share of cyber primes. We've definitely got government departments here because we are the seat of most of the government data crunching, and we have about 80% of the UK's military cyber capability, all sitting on our doorstep. So that's Cyber Wales. When we think Cyber Wales, we think Cyber UK, because it's a huge amount of the cyber capability of the UK sitting here. We want to share that information. Cyber is all about collaboration. We've got some guests here that understand that and have done some amazing work in being able to share best practice, share threat intelligence, and open that up, because we all need to work together in order to tackle the cyber scourge. So joining me live stream today, we have Sam Matsumoto. Thanks very much for joining us, Sam. You have been working with Cyber Wales now for about 5 or 6 years, and you came over to Wales initially to look at forming education relationships, and it's really grown from there. Could you say a few words about who you are, what you do, please? That would be great.
Hi, thank you very much, John. My name is Sam Matsumoto. The brief history, as he explained, I visited Wales in 2018 for the first time. And the purpose was a bit different. It had nothing to do with cybersecurity. But I was so impressed by how Cyber Wales is serving a community on such an important subject. And started to talk about it after I came back to Japan. People get interested, and with help from Hiroshima Prefectural Government and also Hiroshima Institute of Technology, we were able to form the group. We now call it Cyber Hiroshima, and the it is actually as introduced as a branch of Cyber Wales. We have much to learn from how Cyber Wales is providing activities to communities, and we'd like to kind of follow the steps, and we'd like to set up the Cyber Hiroshima as the space for the collaboration for everyone to be aware of cybersecurity and also to be able to cope with it.
No, thank you very much, Sam, and thanks for joining us today. Susan, it's lovely of you to join. Susan, you're from DBT, Department of Business and Trade, and in the British Embassy in Tokyo. And we actually met at the Cyber Hiroshima launch. And I'm delighted you're with us because you can kind of unpick some of the confusion around the bullet points that we've handed off for some of the trade agreements that have taken place, because this last probably kind of 6-7 months has been really important for the UK and Japan, with some amazing agreements and agreements to collaborate that have been put in place. And, you know, from the defense perspective, but also, of course, the G7 summit was in Hiroshima, which really helped to prompt the launch of the Cyber Wales relationship there. And your responsibility, you are in fact, from a DBT perspective, you're the counselor for security, defense, and cyber. Aren't you? Tell us a little bit about what you do. And could you also just unpick some of the confusion that we've caused around what these trade agreements are? Because the reality is more impressive than the bullet point, I think.
No worries at all, and I hope you can hear me. So greetings there from Tokyo, John, and hello. As John said, my name is Susan Oliver, and I'm actually the counsellor for defence, security, cyber, space, and civil aerospace at the British Embassy in Tokyo, and I have been for the last year, and it's one of the longest job titles I've ever owned. However, I've been working on the relationship between the UK and Japan for the last 10 years. I'm currently on loan from our Ministry of Defence, our Department for International Trade, and I'm delighted to take a part in the panel, so thank you. As for where we are with the UK-Japan relationship, I can honestly say that it's never been at its strongest as it has now in decades. We are each other's closest partners in Europe and Asia, respectively. And it's because we share our common values and our common strategic interests. Look, John, you mentioned the G7 summit in Hiroshima in May, and our ministers both agreed with the Hiroshima Accords, in which both nations committed to an enhanced global partnership to strengthen our shared security capabilities, safeguard our global peace. Also, through this agreement, agreed to deepen our economic relationships, our shared prosperity, and also to increase, and more importantly, our trade and investment efforts. So, to drill that down ever so slightly further to what you were alluding to, within that accord, we also committed the UK and Japan to a range of programs, projects, and partnerships, including the next generation, which is I'm very excited about since I'm ex-RAF. So we have agreed or entered into an arrangement with Italy and Japan and the UK for the next generation of fighter aircraft, and we call it the Global Combat Air Programme. Through that partnership, through the Hiroshima Accord, we also, which is probably more relevant to this audience, we agreed to a new UK-Japan industrial science, innovation and technology implementing agreement. And even more importantly, we agreed to the UK-Japan cyber partnership. That cyber partnership, that is the most relevant today. Through that partnership, we formalised that we would deepen our ongoing cyber collaboration, we would strengthen our public-private partnership, and would also advance our shared interests internationally to enhance our cyber capability. So at the government level, we've set the foundations on which to build and strengthen our UK-Japan cyber relationship. And I guess the question is now, how do we translate that into opportunities for business?
No, that's perfect. Thank you, Susan. So no pressure. So the government have set up these amazing, massive deals, independently with the defense industry and also through the defense industry, and also at the G7 summit with the Hiroshima Accords. And now we've all got to scratch our heads and work out how we actually convert that into some trade and some business and actually make some money and make the world a safer place. But it is, you're right, absolutely, it's very exciting, this idea, the combat aircraft project, because I can remember, showing my age now, but I can remember when the Eurofighter was the big thing. So in the UK, and we were going to build this Eurofighter, and it was going to be amazing. But it genuinely, over a period of probably 15 to 20 years, the Eurofighter literally put food on the table. It allowed people to have mortgages. It just funded entire economies and industries while this Eurofighter was getting built as a partnership. And it's a partnership again. It's going to be the UK, it's Japan, and it's Italy, and we're all working on this new combat aircraft. And if it's anything like the Eurofighter was, it's going to be amazing for the economy. And of course, these projects require huge numbers of suppliers, small to medium enterprises, innovative new products, etc. And we're very lucky today to have with us Jason. So Jason is the CTO of a cyber company in Wales. And at the back of the room, actually, we have the sales head for Sudo, who is going to be joining us today because Jason was off doing very, very important things. And we didn't think we were going to be able to get you on the stage, but you very kindly stepped in and you're available. So, and the head of sales, who's with us as well today, is sitting at the back of the room, smiling, and you're in the hot seat, which is great for us because actually what you've done is you have an innovative cyber training platform that allows accelerated learning of cyber skills. And that's such a crucial requirement in this skills gap that we have in the cyber industry and tech as a whole. But you've been to Japan. You went out to Japan and spent some time with Susan and Sam, really doing the launch of Cyber Hiroshima with us from a Cyber Wales perspective. But from your perspective, this is a potential trade because you already supply your platform to the military and to commerce and to universities. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and how the journey you've taken to get here and how that fits in with the Japanese program.
Yeah, no problem. First of all, thanks everybody for being with us this morning. I know it's an early start and great to see you again, Susan and Sam. Thanks for joining. So we look at cyber learning. That's where Pseudo Cyber has come from. And the biggest challenge that people face when trying to learn cybersecurity is actually trying to figure out, firstly, what does cyber mean? We keep running around shouting about cyber and we keep saying, cyber this, cyber that, cyber the other. But actually, cyber is made up of lots of different industries. So before Gartner released the Cyber Magic Quadrant, there was about 20, 25 industries that was all data protection, data privacy, through to network engineering, software engineering, all the way through everything that was involved in computer networks and security before we called it cyber. So when you say cyber, it's quite a broad thing. So when somebody first sits down and says, okay, I want a future in cyber itself, and they try to learn that, it's essentially trying to learn 20 industries. So you've got to start by saying, which one do you want to specialize in, or where do you want to eventually end up working? And then work your way backwards from there to gain a broad knowledge across all of these different things and how they interconnect. The challenge that then presents itself as soon as you decide on what you're going to learn is, how do I practice? Nobody is going to give you, for example, a fighter jet to practice securing fighter jets with. Nobody is going to allow you onto their corporate networks and say, no problem, have a play to learn how corporate networks work. And don't worry if you mess things up a few times, okay? You can't play in these environments, which means historically people have had to sit and set up their own simulated environments at home, or go to university and then work with the university to set up those environments where they can actually play, learn, innovate, research, etc. So when we looked at this challenge, we looked at how do we bring those environments to people? How do we give them a safe space to press all the big red buttons that everybody in IT says, never do that. Don't click on that dangerous web link. Don't understand what that does. How do we give them a safe space to do that? And that's really what our platform was designed around. So we're completely browser-based. You can do it from anywhere. All you need is an internet connection. In fact, we're running a CTF here at Wales Tech Week so that people can have a go. But it allows you then to go on, learn those skills in a safe place, get everything wrong. When somebody talks about something dangerous like ransomware, rather than us theoretically sitting with a slide deck and saying, let me explain ransomware to you. Actually, go on, hit the button, run it, see it completely take over a machine, watch it destroy a network, but do that in real time and break it down step by step so you can really get under the skin of it and understand it. And that's where we come from as a company, and that's where we've kind of started out. So the collaboration then with Japan is a fantastic one for us because the next challenge you face is you cannot do cyber alone. You cannot secure systems alone. The online world is a global world. It's not defined by borders. We can't do cyber just within Wales. As much as we'd all love to stay on the mountains and stay looking at the views, we can't do that. In cyberspace, things will constantly push past borders. So we have to collaborate. We have to build these links between the different nations in order to approach these global challenges, things that we've seen time and time again, like not patches and WannaCries and all of these things that you see in the newspapers when they hit. That requires a global response. It requires global recovery, everything from dealing with the incident to recovering from it afterwards. And starting by getting people working together at the learning stage builds those relationships, builds that communication for us. And then when the worst happens, we're already in contact, we're already dealing together, and we're already working on the same things and have common understanding. And that for us is really what dealing with Japan is all about, helping to kind of build that common understanding so that we can respond together and we can respond more effectively when we're needed.
No, that makes perfect sense. You mentioned there's a CTF going on.
There is.
For those of you in the room that don't really understand what a CTF is, it's a capture the flag competition. It's where effectively you can go online and your platform is browser-based, so it's perfectly safe. You go online, you find yourself on a hacking machine, so you are a hacker, and you can hack into other boxes and other machines and other devices safely in a safe environment. And if you manage to do that successfully, you get a flag which effectively translates into points. So you've got a situation going on outside by the Cyber Wales stand where people can come along and I think they get 15 minutes.
They do.
Of game time. So it's like an American football team where it's only when the whistle goes that the clock's running, and that's when you open a lab. And then if you come out of that lab, the clock stops. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then you can rummage around lots of different challenges and labs, find the ones that you think you're going to be good at, dive in, clock starts, get as many points as you can, come back out again. And there's a prize for who gets the most points. So that's what a CTF is. And funny enough, CTF is the name of a cluster. So Jason also runs a cluster for Cyber Wales, which is the Capture the Flag cluster. Because that gamification, that up against the clock, that challenge element, that ability to win something or to defeat defenses, etc., is gamified, and you get points for it, and you get prizes for it. That's the accelerated learning aspect of the platform, which I think is, that accelerated learning is required. We need to move people from whatever careers they're in at the moment or whatever studies they're doing at the moment into cyber roles as quickly as possible. So I'm sure there'll be people that would like to talk to you in more detail about that. But we're also joined this morning by Fahim. So Fahim, this is very exciting that the activity that's going on in Japan, because of course, if you're going to be building a new global combat aircraft, then there's a lot of cyber aspects that go into that, and we know that there is a lot of work on how you stop people hacking jets and the telematics from jets and the comms from jets in the air, etc. But also, in embracing another country's approach to cyber, as we're doing through Cyber Hiroshima with Sam, and discussing, well, what's the knowledge base, what's the attitude, what's the cultural approach to cyber in Japan? You've already been doing this. You've been doing this for probably 4 or 5 years now with us at Cyber Wales, because you're from the Middle East. You're originally from the United Arab Emirates, and you have been living and working in Wales for Emirati businesses and UK businesses and traveled backwards and forwards. And you were very kind when you traveled backwards and forwards. You took word of Cyber Wales back with you, and the resulting response to the cyber threat and to the cyber capabilities that are in Wales resulted in the formation of a Middle East cluster. So the Cyber Wales Middle East cluster. Now it sounded very outlandish when it formed, but I think we can thank COVID for it, can't we? Because when COVID struck, we put everything onto webinars as everybody else did. So we were running webinar sessions. And Fahim said, well, if you're running webinars, then all of my friends from the Middle East can join those webinars. So we ran one, the first one, which was the June of COVID in 2020. And there were more people from the Middle East than from Wales on the webinar. And that's when we realized that the demand was sufficient to warrant a cluster of your own. And you got that off the ground. It runs every month with a huge audience, which allows Welsh cyber experts to make presentations to companies in the Middle East. But it's grown from there. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up doing this with us, because it's been very successful.
Correct. Thank you very much, and good morning and good evening to everybody in Japan as well. John, I've heard remarks about yourself that you are a cyber guru, but to me, you are my mentor. But I must say that the word that I say about John, I call him Michael Bublé of cybersecurity. The reason I say because it's musical for me to listen to him. And honestly, John has been a motivator for me in terms of raising the flag of Cyber Wales in the Middle East, but also internationally. It was absolutely, definitely during the Middle Eastern time, the COVID time, that we start promoting ourselves into the Middle East. But it was John and I that we decided, and of course the Cyber Wales community as well here, that we decided that we need to raise this flag and we need to have more involvement, because the goal in the Middle East, or goal of the global cyber challenge, is the same: to be more cyber resilient and to have more like-minded partners to be involving together. However, when we created the welcomeness from the Middle East, was really warm. At the same time, too, John, if you know that the British embassies and the foreign offices, they supported us big time over there. Started from the United Arab Emirates, UAE Cybersecurity Council supported us. The Chamber of Commerce that supported us, and then we came into a lot of awareness programs, including we did the workshop for the police, and also, if you remember, United Nations. At that time they were going everywhere, and then one of the Department for Aviation that we were talking about the workshop for cybersecurity. So from there onwards, that we just never looked back, and then we were signing partnership with academia in the Middle East from the United Arab Emirates. Then we grew up into the other part of the Middle East, which is Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, and all of that. But we did not only stop there. We went down to CIS countries like Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, and also at the same time, we went down to Bangladesh. If you remember that, the Minister of ICT to Bangladesh, not only they signed the partnership with us, but they came all the way to right at this place, to ICC in Newport, and they basically welcome us, and then we started our collaboration further with Bangladesh. And this is where we are at the moment. So thank you for all the support.
No, thank you. It's been an amazing journey. Just to let you know something about the success that Fahim's had. Cyber Wales as an entity now has memorandums of understanding and agreements to collaborate with 32 countries. And we have, as you've mentioned a few of the projects there, Bangladesh we helped to launch their Cyber Cert, which is their equivalent of NCSC. And we're also, you very kindly had us working in Afghanistan.
Correct.
Before the withdrawal. Yes. So, we were helping them to create a cyber infrastructure for themselves, knowing that the withdrawal was going to happen and a lot of their cyber infrastructure was going to get taken out. But, for me, I think the highlight's got to be Kyrgyzstan. Just being able to collaborate with a nation that's in its infancy in terms of cyber and tech and digitalization. It's been very exciting. So thank you for that. So So hopefully that's been a little bit of an eye-opener for everybody in the audience here in terms of, Cyber Wales isn't just a networking group for discussing cyber that's in Cardiff. This is, we're right across the UK. In addition to that, actually, we're across the UK at another layer. There's cyber clusters that have been formed. Cyber Wales is the oldest and longest standing cluster in the UK, but there's now about 18 clusters that operate across the UK, Scotland, London, the Midlands, Cheltenham obviously has a cluster that's very strong, the Southwest, etc. So there's lots of clusters in the UK. And there's an umbrella organization that sits across the top of them called UKC3 that Cyber Wales is a founding member of. And that's an organization run by cluster leads for other clusters like Cheltenham, the Southwest, etc., for the clusters. So that's a UK-wide aspect. Cyber Wales is also a UK representative for EXO, which is the European Cybersecurity Organization, which partners us up with 30 nations, all of the member states of the EU. And in addition to that, we're founding members of Global EPIC, which is the EPIC, this is a marketing coup actually. Global EPIC is the ecosystem of ecosystems for partnering and innovation in cyber. And it is literally an ecosystem of ecosystems. We have Beersheba in Israel, we have the MIT in Boston, we've got the Canadian Cybersecurity Institute, and it's actually, we've got the Japanese cyber cluster as well. So we have 32 members of Global EPIC, around the world, covering about 20 countries. And that taps us into being able to collaborate, share best practice, etc., with a huge range of cyber experts globally. So coming back to the Japan tie-up, Sam, you've been working with us now for about 5 years. This breakthrough in Cyber Hiroshima is effectively because you were able to get the prefectural government, that's the regional government of Hiroshima, to embrace the formation of a formal cyber cluster that is able to then open doors and collaborate. Where do you think the major collaborations, if you could wave a magic wand and say, well, here it's been a success, we've got a bunch of collaboration, which sectors and what areas do you think that collaboration would be in that would have the biggest impact?
Well, there are many things that I'd like to bring over to Japan, but most of it is I understand that there's a program called Police Cyber Alarm in UK, and this kind of serves the community to be able to monitor at least what happens in cyber. I think in Japan we lack, or the issue is the lack of awareness. There are so many information, there are so many talks about cyber risk, threats, risks, but not many people think of it as their own problems. It's something distant. It's things of specialist or pretty geeky subject. So it's kind of understanding of cyber threats or risk. No one is seriously taking actions, and hope my voice is getting through. I'm seeing warnings saying my internet is.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, Sam, but yeah, we're getting the gist of what you're saying. So yeah, thanks very much for that. And I think the programs that you've just mentioned, this idea about cyber awareness. And I think this goes back, Jason, to what you said earlier on. Cyber means different things to different people, right? Cyber warfare is a very different concept to, cyber analytics or cyber security. So this notion of it means different things to different people and the need for awareness. How is pseudo-cyber going to be working with Sam and his team to really create those programs on your platform?
Yeah, we've been looking, I suppose there's different layers of cyber. So when you talk about cyber awareness, this is people that work in any environment that includes connections with data or computer systems. And there's a general level of hygiene and a general level of awareness that they need to have. And this is the one that we've been kind of the drum we've been banging for a long time, right? Don't click bad links in your emails, yeah? This kind of stuff. There's a general awareness. And we've been saying this message as an industry. We've been giving it lots of acronyms. We've had lots of initiatives over the years. And what we're actually running with Sam and the guys in Japan is reinventing that awareness training. Instead of just saying, don't click links in emails, let's actually teach people or show people how easy that is to put bad links in emails and actually what is the result of that. So let people run those things themselves. Let people click those links. Let people understand what happens from that side to make them more aware and make sure that they understand it. Because part of the other side of what we've been doing with awareness in the UK, which we will be working with Japan on in the future, is raising the awareness of the fallout of that on the individuals. So, for example, we did an event with the police up in North Wales, where we really explored the psychological impact and the effect that somebody clicking on a link has on themselves. So there was an incident with a university, for example, where somebody clicked a bad link, somebody got into the system, they lost a little bit of money, everything was recovered, everything ended up being fine from the business's perspective, it was all insured, everything was all good. But this particular individual ended up off work for nearly 9 months. They really struggled to get past this, blamed themselves, thought they'd let their own teams down. They'd been with the institution for about 25 years, so this really, really hit them hard. So that awareness training, that is not just about the dangers of cyber, but also as an organization and as people within the organization, awareness of what it means to be a victim of that, how they can support people that have, maybe accidentally hit that wrong button, and, how they can support people back into that institution and help them through that kind of time. So really, awareness has a lot of connotations in it itself. Then you've got the technical layer above it, as you say, going back to things like the old adage about snipers. You've got to put 10,000 bullets down a range to be an expert sniper. The only way to become an expert in any field of technology is to just do it 10,000 times, fail 9,999 of them, and figure out how to debug it. That's kind of what we do from the technical perspective. So combining those and helping people to understand the threat intelligence, helping people to understand what that means, not just for their organization, but for the people within their organization, and then giving them the technical skills to be able to respond to that is really kind of what we're trying to do with Japan. What we're working with Sam on.
I think that's brilliant. And actually, we're seeing different attacks in Japan to the attacks we see in the UK already, which is, and I think what happens, if we raise everybody's awareness in the way that you're describing, so instead of just raising their awareness of the things they should do, like don't click on links, we're raising their awareness of how hacking actually works and what's going on under the bonnet as much as we can. What that actually also does is it opens up people's minds to, well, if that's how they're doing it, then there's possibilities. Those possibilities, of course, translate into innovation, and they translate into new ideas. And it's like, well, why do we do it that way? Why don't we try it this way? That innovation is absolutely critical because it's what the hackers are doing. And it's also critical to industry and forming businesses. So you've successfully forged agreements, and I know you work with the police here. We just had Sam talk about the police in Japan, and you're already the platform for all of the police cyber training in the UK. But it goes beyond the police, doesn't it, Susan? I'm gonna bring you in here again because I think this innovation is absolutely critical to exporting British capability and also to finding Japanese capability and new ways of looking at it that we've just described, where there's a different approach to cyber, results in different ideas. And the more ideas there are, the more innovation we've got. The more innovation we've got, the more trade we can build. What are your thoughts in terms of opportunities for UK companies in Japan to get involved in that?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay, John?
Yeah.
Like Sam, there's a bit of a background fuzz, so I'm not sure if we've even heard of it. So for Japan, I think we could go over the kind of historic of what Japan has thought previously for cybersecurity, but they most definitely have changed their attitude. They had to because of the attacks they've sustained. And just to put a bit of a statistic, phishing email story, 2023, the Anti-Phishing Council has reported that in the previous year of 2022, 968,832 phishing reports, which is an 80% increase in the previous year. So Japan is a very trusting society. We'll click on that link, and that's where we have really got that experience. However, going back to sort of the opportunity in Japan, I see it very much in the critical national infrastructure side of things. They're smart cities, they're 5.0 society, in the finance sector, in the automotive sector, in digital healthcare, and also very much in the sort of their trading environment. They are looking to digitalize and transform, and with that comes the need for cybersecurity from the DNA upwards, and that's where I see the opportunities for us to collaborate with the Japanese, because we will always have that tyranny of the language barrier, we will always have that tyranny of the distance, and we'll always have that it's very expensive to come back and forth to Japan, but you have to be consistent, you operate, and you have to get yourself a very good partner here in country.
No, that's very true. And I think it's a bit of a challenge, particularly for small businesses. It's like, would you like to go and do some business in France? It's a fairly easy thing to do. You pop on the channel and then you're doing business and then you're back for tea. But Japan's slightly different. It's 8 hours difference in terms of, but it's a 14-hour flight, 14-hour flight. But the last trip we did both of them overnight. So, we kind of jumped on the plane, slept all the way there, and slept all the way back again, and it worked a treat. So there are ways of doing this. And I know that the DBT have got some extremely good programs running that help support British businesses that want to go to Japan and vice versa. And I know that you've got some trade missions coming backwards and forwards, which are subsidized. And of course, we're lucky here. We've not just got the UK government, we've got the Welsh government as well, and they're very good at supporting companies to be able to afford those trade missions and what have you. So you're right. If we can overcome those, and organizations are prepared to overcome those, the marketplaces are very rich. And we found the same thing, haven't we, in the Middle East? To the degree, actually, with the Japan arrangement, we have Sam and his team. And it means that companies in Japan can contact Sam and say, well, we'd really like this kind of cyber capability. Sam can assess whether that exists in his own cluster membership. And if it doesn't, he contacts us at Cyber Wales, and we can see if anyone in Cyber Wales wants to go to Japan. But that work can very often be done remotely. But it can also be traded at that end through Cyber Hiroshima, and then we simply subcontract back to here. And it really, in the short term, it means people can trade without having to go through all the rigmarole of setting up companies abroad. We've only got about 2 minutes left,
Sure.
Fahim, but you came up with a little bit of a solution for this, which you enacted in Abu Dhabi, which was the formation of a company, which is Cyber Wales LLC, and that carries out that same role, doesn't it?
It does indeed. And I must say that, because time is of an essence at the moment, I would just like to summarize it very quickly. We do have a platform in the Middle East, and the platform is basically kept it there so that, the East and the West are connected through the Middle East office. We have done previously, if you remember that, between Japan and our platform of mobile payment solutions, that, which was only possible is because of, understanding of the Japanese culture by involving ourselves there. But I would also say, when we are coming down and involving our Middle Eastern platform, I must say to all the cyber companies and interested in cyber through our platform to get more involved into the community and the cyber industry, because there's so much work is already going on in the Middle East, together with us and with other partners as well. Yeah. So I would definitely say that.
No, it's been very successful. So this idea of trading through another cluster allows organizations. So if you're in an organization that carries out cyber, you want to experiment with international trade, where could you trade? There's an easy route to do that by these collaborations with other clusters. And we've had some terrific success in the Middle East, and that's going to continue. And we've got other countries that are coming online that we can be collaborating with and trading with.
Remember St. Vincent?
Indeed. And also, of course, this amazing opportunity that's opened up now courtesy of the UK's activity, the G7 activity, Sam's hard work over the last 5 years to get this accepted at a governmental level in Japan. It's all come together beautifully. So if there's anybody in the audience, either with us today or online, that's working in cyber, you'd like to experiment with international markets, you'd like to explore the possibilities there, then please get in touch with us. CyberWorlds is continuing to grow. As I say, we've got memorandums of understanding now with 30 countries. So if you wanted to trade somewhere, there's plenty of opportunity to do it. And actually, cyber as a challenge is not going away anytime soon. We're digitalizing at a pace. And as we digitalize, so we create more vulnerabilities. So we're feeding the cyber industry and feeding the cyber hackers at the same time. Somebody once said, just to close out, that we're actually putting the fire out with gasoline. And given that I make money off the cyber industry, I'm not going to end that anytime soon. But Alid, I think we're up in terms of time, so I'll hand back to you. I'll thank my guests for joining us, particularly from Japan. Sam and Susan, thank you. And thank you, Jason and Fahim, for being with me this morning. Back to you, Alid.
Thank you, John. I think that's one of the nicest endings I've heard in a while, right? But mine's much more boring, right? My ending, and many of you have heard me talk about cyber or cybersecurity. I was in the industry, as you know, for 1,000 years, is the law of requisite variety theory, that there must be as much variety in the control as there is variety in the threat. And what we've heard this afternoon is a great group of people who are putting as much variety into the control as possible to deal with the variety of the threat that we all know is growing and continues to grow exponentially. So thank you all very much indeed, and thank you, our friends in Tokyo, for joining us as well. In 10 minutes' time, we've got the Vice President and Managing Director of Hewlett-Packard to talk to us, Neil Sawyer. So if you want to grab a coffee, you want to come back, we would welcome that. In the interim, thanks again.